everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today we are doing another installment of the Autism Reviews series, and today we are reviewing a massage gun. So this one is a Boots one. I will talk more about this in a minute, but for now, let's just quickly run over what the Autism Reviews series is. So for those who are new on this channel, I am autistic. I am also disabled. I have hypermobile EDS, Tourette's, and many other things, but those are the ones that are relevant. In this series, I review different things that I've bought or acquired for my disabilities, mostly, but I also review some things such as the iPad Pro that I got mainly just because I wanted one, but I review it from a disabled point of view and how accessible it is to me personally. The aim of this series is to review things from an autistic point of view for anyone else who is autistic and is looking into the same or similar products, anyone who's buying for someone autistic and wants an autistic opinion, and also just in general, maybe companies will see this sort of thing and, take into account autistic and disabled voices when they're making their products. But now that we've done the intro, let's get into the actual review. As I said, today I am reviewing this massage gun. I got my one from Boots, but really I'm not reviewing the specific Boots one because I believe all massage guns that look like this are pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is possibly a price difference depending on where you buy them from, but for reference, this one is from Boots. So this is what it looks like. It's pretty big, as you can see. It's about, the width of my shoulders, roughly, so it is fairly big. And yes, it's got this handle. And then this is obviously the actual massage thing. It does come with several different heads as well. So I've chosen this one because it's a little bit more targeted, because it's got a narrower tip, but there's just a ball one. And there's also one that's slightly spiky, kind of like a massage ball. But I prefer this one personally. So the functions of it are fairly simple. We have this wheel here that if it was plugged in, you simply push it up, and then it turns on automatically, and then you can push it upwards more to change the speed. So the more it goes up, the faster it goes, the more it goes down, the slower it is. And the only other button on it is this one on the back, which just does heat. So you can see this little red ring here. It lights up, and it does get warm. I personally don't find that the heat thing works at all. I'm not really sure what it's meant to do, but it does warm up and it does light up and have a little red glow, but it doesn't seem to do anything for me. Perhaps it will for someone else, but to me that feature seems a little bit redundant. Anyway, now that you've seen it, let's get into the pros and cons as always. So let's start with the pros. The big pro, and the reason I wanted one of these, is that I wanted to be able to give myself a massage while I was at home. Obviously, previously I lived with my parents, so I could get my mum to do that if I needed her to. But obviously now that I live alone, there's no one here to do that for me. And so I wanted a massage gun to, basically help me relieve my pain on a day-to-day basis when there was no one else there to help me do it. And it has worked fairly well. Exactly how effective it is, I think, is subjective. For me, pretty much everything hurts all of the time. And I mainly use it like at the end of the day, so just to, release any tension. And it kind of I do it before I stretch so that I can just kind of, it just helps the stretching be a little more effective, and therefore, helps me get to sleep a little faster. It relieves the pain ever so slightly, and it's just sort of an added little thing. So I suppose it technically does what it's meant to, but I wouldn't say it is life-changing. But it does definitely do what it's advertised to do. It does relieve tension, and it does help, it helps you stretch. Obviously, people like athletes and stuff will also use these sorts of massage guns for injuries and things like that. I am no athlete, so if you want an athlete's opinion, you're on the wrong channel. But from a disabled point of view and an autistic point of view, it does help relieve that tension. I find it particularly helpful on my feet. After a long day of walking, it really helps relieve that tension and just, iron out the kinks after a long day. The main thing I was looking for, though, was whether it was going to help me massage my back and shoulders, because I have a lot of problems with those, and obviously you can't reach your back very well. Now, I am hypermobile, which means I am very flexible. I can, overextend all of my joints, and therefore I can reach my back a little bit better than others, but I still can't massage my back. So I was hoping that it was going to allow me to do that, and it does to a certain extent. Which brings me on to my next point, which is the first con, which is that it's very heavy. So obviously you can see it's pretty big, and the idea is that you're meant to put it over your back like this, except this is really hard to do for any extended period of time. And even then I was, struggling a little bit. I can either, I can put it all the way down here and just rest my arm here, or I can have it here because I'm resting my arm, but I can't like do this all the time. And it is heavy, especially I don't have a lot of strength. My muscles are not strong. That's something I'm working on, but I'm not strong at all, and I get tired incredibly easily. I have chronic fatigue. So I just can't hold something that heavy up like that for very long, which obviously defeats the point a little bit of being able to massage your back. Now, it is definitely better than if you got one that was, say, just a little handheld one, because it does allow you to reach down below, nearer, the base of your spine, because, you can just kind of hold it like this and it gets down here because it's so long. And of course I can have it here as well, so it helps with my shoulders. It's just that middle back section that I can't really do because it's too heavy. So, given the fact that it is a specific back massager, it's specifically for your back rather than anywhere else, because if you're just going to do your legs or something, you can get smaller ones that don't get in the way so much. Because another con is that when I'm trying to, do like my calves or my feet or something, this long handle gets in the way, and it keeps, you can't turn it anywhere, and it's just too long. It gets in the way when you're trying to do it anywhere other than your back, pretty much. And so obviously it's designed for your back, but it's not viable if you cannot hold it properly, which obviously a lot of disabled people will not be able to for one reason or another. Now, if you are an athlete and using it for athletic reasons, whether it just be after a gym day or, if you've got an injury, I'm not the sort of person to talk about that, but, if you were an athlete or were very active, you would probably have no problem doing that, and it would therefore probably be pretty effective. But from a disabled point of view, it's not quite as effective because I just can't hold it there. Which also brings me on to my next point, which is that I find it is less effective on my back as opposed to the rest of my body as well, because obviously when I'm holding it like this, I can't put pressure on the head. So when I'm using it, I find, I'll hold it up to, say this is my foot. It's really sunny. I'll hold it like this, but then I'll also just push it ever so slightly so that it just gets a little bit deeper when it's vibrating. But I obviously can't do that on my back, because if I have it like this, I can't reach, the head to just put that little bit of extra pressure on it, which obviously then makes it less effective on my back. The final thing that is a little bit, it's not necessarily a huge con, but it's just something to consider, is the fact that these, this tip is pretty big. I mean, it's like the size of my palm, so they are pretty big. And so I obviously have this one on, which is more focused. There's a big one, which is just round, and then there's one with the little spikes. And so this is the most focused one you can get, but it doesn't get into the really small areas, such as like, up here on my neck. I really need something for that. And it doesn't get it because the tip is just, it's just too big. And so therefore it can't get deep enough in those small areas. So yeah, that is something to consider. And that's something that has, kind of knocked the rating a little bit for me, because, my most, my worst areas are kind of my neck, my shoulders and my back. And it just can't do that because, the tip is too big, and I just can't hold it because it's too heavy. So all in all, you can see there are quite a few more cons than there are to pros. However, let me explain that. So as a general rule, I would recommend a massage gun. It has helped me, especially on like my feet and my legs after I've been walking or something. It does wonders to just relieve that tension and allow me to properly stretch it out before I go to bed. That has worked wonders. However, this one specifically, because it is so long and so heavy, it doesn't work for me, for my back. Now, like I said, if you were an athlete or just, a normal person who is capable of, holding a heavy massager like that on your back, then it could indeed be useful. But, you know, for disabled people like myself, it just isn't viable because I can't reach, I can't hold it for that long. It's too heavy and it's not as effective as I need it to be. You know, again, perhaps if you were, you know, kind of an ordinary person with just, you know, an ordinary backache rather than, you know, a chronic illness like me, it may do the job perfectly fine if it's just an ordinary backache. But, you know, for someone who has severe pain and, you know, a lot of severe problems and lifelong disabilities, it's not that effective on my back. So what rating would I give it? I think in general, I give massage guns in general about a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 stars. They are pretty good. They really have done wonders on my legs and my feet, and even my arms, you know, after a day of lifting or something. That does really help. However, the back massager, this one specifically, this style, I think I'd only give a 2 out of 5 because it's just not practical for me. Because it's too heavy, you know, I can't reach, it just isn't practical for me and my needs. Again, if you're an athlete or, you know, someone who could use this, then it may be helpful, but obviously I can't speak on that because I am no athlete. But for me and probably a lot of other disabled people, this just isn't very viable for your back because it's just too heavy and it's not accessible. So if you yourself are looking for a massage gun, I would recommend that you get one. You know, if you have, even if you're not disabled at all, you know, honestly, just get one. They're really not that expensive. I think this one was fairly expensive because it was, you know, it's like a big one. It was still only like 30 quid or something though, so you can get a small one for like a tenner, probably a $5 off of Amazon. You know, they're not expensive, so honestly just get yourself one. You know, do it on your legs, your feet after a long day of working or whatever. But I would recommend that you get a small one. You can get little handheld ones. I'll maybe put some pictures up. I would recommend that you get one of those rather than one of these stonking great big boys, because these ones are just not super helpful for anyone that is disabled or even just ordinary. You know, they are really heavy. In fact, I may look up the weight for this, or, you know, try and weigh it myself so that I can tell you how heavy it is, because obviously you can't feel it, but it is heavy. So I'll put the weight up on screen for anyone who wants to know, just for reference. But yeah, in general, I would recommend getting a massage gun because it has been incredibly helpful to me. You know, it really helps stretch out everything after a long day, which is a vital part of my routine. You know, stretching is something I do in the morning and the evening and throughout the day as well. You know, every half an hour I'm getting up and touching my toes and, you know, turning myself into a pretzel because, you know, I need to stretch everything out, and it does help with that. So I would recommend getting a massage gun. I just wouldn't recommend the long back ones for anyone who, you know, isn't going to be able to hold them. So to wrap everything up, I would give this specific massage gun a 2 out of 5 stars because it's too heavy to be accessible. And since it's advertised as a back massager, and I use it for everything other than my back, it doesn't really, you know, perform as it was advertised. It works perfectly fine as a massager, but it's just not accessible for me to use for my back because it's too heavy, and you just can't reach, you know. You just can't, even if, you know, I have it here, because I can't put that pressure on it, it doesn't help me personally. However, massage guns and massagers in general, I would give about a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 stars because they have been really helpful to me. So yes, I would recommend you get a massage gun, just not necessarily a big long one like I have. So I hope you found that review helpful. You know, if you're thinking of getting a massage gun, I would recommend it. You know, if you're thinking of getting one for a friend, you know, maybe ask them if that's something, you know, they'd want. But yeah, I'd recommend getting a small one because, yeah, man, being able to massage my legs and feet has been game changing. But yeah, I hope you found this review helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will get to them as soon as possible. You're also free to message me on Instagram. I'll leave the links in the description as well. I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And yeah, I really hope you found this helpful. Like it if you did, share it with anyone you think might also find it helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more. I do these autism reviews every now and again whenever I have something to review pretty much. If you have any sort of product or thing you'd like me to review, then again, leave it in the comments and I'll see if I can review it. And yeah, I also do weekly vlogs as well as other miscellaneous videos as and when I feel like it that usually go up on Wednesdays. So yeah, subscribe if you want to see all of that, and I will see you in the next video.